All right, let's move to the next go round where we look at the regional infection level. So here was the sheet where I created the plot and added titles and so forth. I'm going to add another sheet, and you may have an extra sheet down here or something. I just hit the plus, and there's sheet 3. I'm going to go back to sheet 2. I guess I could go all the way back to sheet 1, and oh yeah, that just had some stuff I didn't do a movie on. But anyway, I'm going to just highlight those 3 columns, the whole column. I'm going to copy it, go to sheet 3, click here in A1 and say paste. And there I have all that data again. And if we want to just look at these two, which we do in our project, we just take those just like we took quality rating. Now these I don't really need to copy over here because they're right next to each other, and so I'll just leave them that way. And as before, insert a chart. I want a scatter plot, and I'll finish. And so now, as we look at this, our x-axis is regional infection level, and again, I should add axis labels so when I put this into a document, it's all there. But for now, I just want to kind of look at what we're doing. So we have our regional infection level, and then what we see is, well, as the infection level goes up, so does the nursing home infection level. So that doesn't seem too surprising that might happen, just as it didn't seem too surprising that if the quality rating went up, the infection level might go down because they just a better quality nursing home. And so, if I look at those two things separately, I see things that seem reasonable, but which is the answer, or are both the answer? Are both things affecting this, and so forth. So, I can take that data, create a plot just like we did before, and label it, and it looks like there's a relationship. As infection level in the region goes up, so does that in the nursing home. So seems very reasonable. Okay, I'm going to delete this particular plot though. And now what we want to do is try to look at the blocking, and so how do we do that? Well, we're going to first block by the regional infection level. Okay, so what I need to do is sort the data. So I'm going to highlight all 3 columns. I'm going to find data, and this is again true on just pretty much any spreadsheet. I'm going to hit sort, and then the column I want to sort by is this column B, the regional infection level. So I go here and I find it. Now also, since we had the labels up there and so forth, if this had said column A or column B or column C, I probably would go to options, and again, this is true in pretty much any spreadsheet. You can do this, and notice this checkbox here says range contains column labels, and often in most spreadsheets when you go to sort, either on the very first dialog you get or somewhere on a different tab like this one, whether or not you have column labels can be checked or unchecked. Well, we do have column labels, so it's using those, and we want that because we don't want it to sort the regional infection level name. We just want that to stay there. In ascending order, that sounds good, lowest to highest, and so I say OK. And I needed to highlight all 3 columns because what happened was, notice these here are all in order. They go the 1s first, then the 2s, when we come down here, the 3s, but we needed everything else to keep the same row. So this was a 5 that went with that 1 that went with 1.9825. And if we went back here, we could probably find it somewhere. Yeah, there it is. See, that whole row got moved first is what happened, because it was the first one. And so we sort that way. And now what I'm going to do, just to make my life a little easier, I'm going to highlight all the 2s in the middle column, and I'm going to make them yellow. That's just so I can see where things start and stop. And so what I want to do is I'm going to take my quality rating and my nursing home infection level, and again put those together to plot, but I only want to plot for infection level 1. Okay, so what that is, that's the idea of blocking by regional infection level, is that a block, you see it made a block of all 1s, and then I have a block of all 2s, and I'm only going to look at those data. And so here, you know, I'm going to do this a little a little more quickly. There's the regional level, and I'm just going to put those numbers in it. Now this I have to be very careful of, so and I'm going to do it by formula again. Now I don't need to do it by formula, just to show something different. Maybe possibly even it would be better in this case not to do it by formula. Is I just highlight all those, I copy, and I come over here and I paste them, and then I highlight all these, I copy, and I paste them, and so that's all those. And this I'm going to put up here is oh wait, I didn't want regional, sorry about that, I wanted nursing home. Okay, that's where I'm getting that data. And here what I want to do is regional level equals 1. Okay, so I have that, and then I'm going to go every 2 here, and I need to change that to a regional level equals 2, and here I'm going to edit it to say, whoops, say 3. Okay, so I have that, and then now here I want those same things. So now I'm using the Control C and Control V to do my copy and paste, and there, I had to widen that just a little bit. Okay, so I have all those. Now there are, again, I can make things a little prettier. I can center things. Here, notice that's actually going over 2 cells. You can do things like you can go up usually to either format or something like that, but see, notice it says merge cells, and here I'm going to merge and center, and now what that does, it made sort of 1 cell out of those 2, and it centered it so it looks a little nicer. And of course I could center those things, and I could make them bold if I want to help me see what's going on. Bold, and so that looks a little nicer. And I could do the same thing over here, but now I want to copy and paste these. So there's that block. Copy. Now here, you know, when I paste, it's going to be in yellow. If I don't want that, I could do a paste special, but I don't care. I'll just put them in yellow, and I could always change it again. So and then copy and paste, and then my final block Whoops. Try that again. Okay, I'll do a Control C and a Control V, and same thing here, Control C and a Control V. And so there are my 3 blocks of data. And so now what I can do is I can make a separate plot for each one of these, or I could make a whole big plot that has all 3. Let's kind of look at that. So suppose I highlight that, and I say, well, okay, insert a chart. I'll do a scatter plot, finish, and there we have it. And now I really, as I do these, I should place them where I'm not going to forget which one's which real quickly, or something like that, or go ahead and label things very quickly. Get a title that mentions region infection level of 1 up here in the title. But notice something that happened here with the data. Remember our old data, as the quality went up, the infection level went down. And here, as the quality goes up, the infection level is actually going up. So you look at the top and the bottoms of these things. And so that's the opposite. Okay, so as the quality went up, now notice there weren't any really low quality nursing homes in this low infection region. So the low infection region was a 1. Now why might that be? Well, not sure. Either maybe you tend to have higher quality nursing homes in more rural areas, possibly, or maybe even if you go to suburban areas, but suburban areas and rural areas have a lower population density. Okay, people aren't pushed so close together, and so that would keep the COVID-19 infection from spreading as quickly, usually. And so what we see here is actually the opposite of what we saw when we just looked at quality rating and nursing home level infection. We see the opposite thing happening. And so here it actually shows a slight increase as the quality of the nursing home goes up. Well, what about these set of data? Okay, so let's for now get rid of that, just so I know I'm looking at the right thing. And again, we do that same thing, just real quickly insert a chart. I want a scatter plot. I want to finish. And here, notice, well, as quality goes up, infection level started to go up, but then went back down. In other words, it looks like the quality of the nursing home may have very, very little to do with its infection level. Okay? Because actually, if anything, one might try to say that as the quality of the nursing home went up, so did the infection level. But again, you have to be careful there because, well, there are other things involved and all that. And it went up and then went back down and so forth. So, and there's not lots and lots of data here. So I would probably not draw a big conclusion about quality in nursing home after I see the blocking here. And let's just try the last one just to see how that one looks. And again, insert chart and scatter and finish. And you see this one, notice the maximum here, minimum here are wider than the maximum in here. So here it looks like it's just straight across for for a high level of regional infection. And again, if we look at what quality nursing homes are, they're ones and twos. And so it looks like when we block that at least our particular data, now I made this data up, so I don't try to run out and tell friends or something, you know, this is how it works, but this is looking at that original question from the NPR story, is that, you know, how might somebody get two different answers? Well, if we only look at quality rating and nursing home infection level, then it looked like in that first part that, oh, as the quality went up, the infection level went down. However, when we looked at regional infection level, that also, you know, and in a lot of ways that previous conclusion could make sense. But then we look at the regional infection level, which was also mentioned in the NPR story, and these two groups came up with two different answers. And this answer, if we just look at regional infection level and nursing home infection level, then as the regional infection level went up, so did the nursing home infection level. Well, that also makes sense. That would seem reasonable. But now when we do our blocking, and we block by our regional level, and then we ask the question, does quality of the nursing home seem to have anything to do with the nursing home's level of infection? Actually, as we look at that blocking, we kind of found, well, probably not. This first one at the level 1 at low levels, it kind of looked like actually maybe higher quality nursing homes had more infection, but again, you know, it wasn't, you know, we don't really have the tools to know for sure, so we looked at that and yeah, maybe. But then when we went to level 2 or level 3, we see that no, there just doesn't appear to be any reason to link the quality of the nursing home to the level of infection that you would expect. Okay, so blocking that way just makes our results for our first analysis says no, those results are no good, because we hadn't taken into account this confounding variable of regional infection level. So it looks like maybe regional infection level. Well, then the next thing to do would be to do the same sort of blocking with quality rating, but thinking of regional infection level as the main variable, the explanatory variable, and then quality rating as the confounder. So sure, we can do that. I am going to get rid of this yellow blocking here. And now I'm going to just highlight these three items again here and sort again, so data, sort. But now I'm going to sort by the quality rating. Okay. And now notice if I look at some blocks here, the quality rating of 1, well, as it turns out, the infection level are all 3s for the quality rating of 1. They happen to be in high infection level areas. So, you know, why might that be? Well, maybe the density of the population is real high. Oh, well, that may be another confounding variable. But again, we're just looking at some very simplified data in this first case. Now, if we go, and so there's nothing to be seen there, because it's all the same quality rating, and then this is all the same infection level. There's really no trend to look at. Here, where we go to quality rating of 2, now we see that there are 2s and 3s, and we can really quickly look at that, and I'm just going to do it again this way. So notice I have all the 2s here. Look at that real quickly. Insert chart, Scatterplot, and finish. And notice that the trend here is actually the same as the overall trend for regional infection level, is that as the region's infection level goes up, which is down here, so does the nursing home's infection level. That's what we found. So blocking by this quality rating here doesn't go against our original findings. So that's looking good. And same thing here. So that was the 2s. If we go to the 3s, that's all these. Well, those are all the same level of regional infection, and so we wouldn't see anything there, just a bunch of dots up in a column. But now if we go to 4, this does have some different ones, and so once again we could look at a quality level of 4, blocking by that. What does that do? And XY scatter, finish, and there again it's still going up. Okay, so we can do that one separately and see that it's still going up. And we'll get rid of that. Finally, for quality level 5, these are all 1s, and so we see that there's really nothing to look at there because they're all the same infection level. Now, so what we see then, if we look at these two variables, okay, whichever one we decided to pick as the confounding variable and the variable of interest, well, it might not be a bad idea to take a look at their relationship. Do they have a relationship? And notice that, yeah, they do. Now, it doesn't look like much data here because any data that looks the same is plotted on top of each other. But notice that the problem with the confounding turned out to be that certain quality ratings, those nursing homes actually tended to be, the higher the quality rating, the more likely it was going to be in lower infection levels, right? As the rating goes up, which is going to the right, the infection level of the region is going down, and so that's why it looked like quality rating might have had something to do with the nursing home infection rating, but really what you were seeing was that regional infection level had to do with nursing home infection level, but quality rating happened to be very closely tied to infection level, and that was the confounding. And so if we looked at only the quality rating and the nursing home infection level, we got erroneous results. But when we blocked by regional infection level here, we saw that, oh yeah, there's not a relationship between quality and nursing home level. The real relationship, or well, maybe the real relationship, has to do with the region's infection level. But again, the region's infection level might actually be more tied to population density or something like that. And so that's why you want to think about what all the variables might be. Now, often you can't block and account for all variables. You can't even collect data for all variables. However, it's good to think about them and think about what else could be going on. So if you simply went with the quality rating and the nursing home data, you would get a wrong conclusion. Whereas when you go with, add in the data for the regional infection level and then also check by blocking with that, you quickly find out that, yeah, quality and nursing home don't really have anything to do with each other, but regional infection level and nursing home probably do. again, you know, it's the best we've come up with so far, but again, there could be many other variables to look at. So it can get very complicated, but this is why we like experiments, and we like to keep all variables the same except for the one of interest in something like an experiment. Okay, so that kind of takes care of the big picture of that. Now, another thing you could do with plots, instead of doing 3 separate ones, say for these, you could do something like this, where, you know, say I highlight the first one and I insert a chart, and so I start with a chart just for the first one. But now, what I want to do is I'll move it over here so I can see a little better. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to right click, and usually now, and you can find this up in the top ribbons of a lot of spreadsheets and so forth. Notice you know, there are various things up here. I tend to go with the right click, and I'm looking for data series. That's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to add a data series. And so I'm going to add, and it wants a name. Now for this name, actually, I'm going to, in my case, I'm going to click there and then click there, and there's the name. And then X values, I go find those, and again, I can click on that little icon, and most of these work the same. And there are my X values, and then my Y values, and you know, the spreadsheets all are pretty similar. Little differences here and there, but so I do that. So there, I've added another one, and I'll add my third one, and the name, I'll use region level 3. X values, I'll add those, and my Y values, I'll add those. Now I can go back here to the nursing home and its name, and I can change where it gets its name. That should be that one. And now I say OK, and I get a plot like this. And in this case, I really do want a legend. And you know, so here I can see everything at once, and I can kind of see that you know, these data are going down, those data are kind of going sideways or something. These data weren't actually going down. I guess they were going pretty much just side to side, so no relationship, not up or down. This one was more or less kind of side to side as well. This one went up a little bit. And so as I look at each of those separate blocks, I can see that that the downward trend that I saw to begin with was really these 3 blocks, and those blocks came from the region level. So it was really the region level that was giving me the downward trend, not the quality. Okay, and so I could go with a plot like this, again, put a title, axes labels for the X and Y, and you know, I would have a very nice graph showing those blocks all at once, and showing that it's really the regional level that is causing that downward trend, not the actual quality of the nursing home, because those are the, you know, when we look at the blocks, we see that that block doesn't look like a downward trend, doesn't look like a downward trend, and that block does not look like a downward trend. So that you could add all blocks to a single graph, or you could do 3 separate graphs for each of the region levels. Okay, so I think that's plenty. That's probably a pretty long video, and we'll call that one good.